a brief overview of the things that we're going to cover today. First, we'll do a short introduction to study, understanding society. We'll also do an introduction to data linkage and geographical data linkage that can be done with understanding society data. And we'll also talk a bit more about how the data can be accessed, what is a rough structure of the data, and how the data can be linked. When we talk about the understanding society, we can imagine as a family of service and data set. As you can see in the center, we have a main survey to which you can link variety of the data set and resources that we have at understanding society. Today, I'll primarily focus on linked data set, but we also have a separate data set as health and biomarkers, COVID-19 survey that was done separately, early pregnancy and early childhood data set, various teaching data sets, and also an innovation panel, which is our test bed for innovations for our study. All these things are accompanied with their own links, so you can read more about them on the presentation that will be sent to you. When we talk about study itself, so understanding society, or the UK household longitudinal study, so the study serves a sample of individuals representing the UK population, and these people are interviewed within a household context. So the sample is random. The sample of household is randomly selected. It collects information about all of the residents of these households. These residents and their offspring form a core sample. They're followed over the course of their life at the 1 year intervals when within UK, which we call the waves. Our study is also builds on its predecessor project, which was called the British Household Panel Survey. Fieldwork itself takes 2 years, but the participants are interviewed annually. When we talk more about the information that is collected, we collect basic demographic information such as sex, age, ethnicity. We also focus on some key topics which we find as a significant research domain, such as education, employment, political attitudes, health, biomarkers, and the genetic and epigenetic data, and others. But we also ask other topics during the interview, such as neighborhood characteristics, the social networks, preferences, expectations, attitudes, and beliefs, environmental behaviors, leisure activities, transport use, and so on. As you can see in this long-term content plan of the adult questionnaire, you can see that not all modules are asked at each wave. And you can see that, for example, household composition is asked at every wave. And for example, environmental behavior was asked at wave 1, wave 4, wave 10, and wave 13. So how we collect the data? So we can break that in three parts. Enumeration grid, which collects basic socio-demographic information about every member of the household. Household questionnaires, which contains questions about household amenities, expenses, rent and mortgages, and so on. And individual questionnaires. So personal interviews and surveys with or self-completion online survey in enumerated households. So those household members between age 10 and 15, they fill out a paper booklet youth questionnaire. Those above age 16, they fill out adult questionnaire, and also there's a proxy questionnaire for certain questions. Some information about those below age 10, so from 0 to 9, are collected from their parents or guardians. We are aware that our study is quite complex. Therefore, we develop different pathways that you can use to make yourself familiar with the study, depending on your previous level of knowledge about the study. So you can take different pathways, such as a new user, if you're new to the study, experienced users, if you're, for example, if you want to know about certain specific topics and areas, or policy user if you're interested in using our data in a policy context. And when you click any of these pathways, you'll have tabs and suggestions and accessible information. Now we'll start with introduction to data linkage and geographical data linkage. So why we do linkage? We find linkage as one of the key innovative features of our study, with which we allow researchers to develop and implement new research agendas. It includes a linkage to administrative data sets in key policy areas, as well as other external sources. We are currently pursuing data linkage in a wide range of topic areas, including education, health, economic circumstances, transport, as well as area characteristics. So when we talk more in general terms, what is data linkage? We can simplify that and say that it's linking data about same entities, in this case, for example, individuals or members of the household, from the multiple data sources in the single data set. These records are typically linked at the individual level, but data can also be linked at the household level, institutional level, or area level. So in this simplified linkage workflow, you can see how that linkage is done. So basically, you have data set A that, for example, our study, and data set B, which represent administrative records. In both records, participants are matched based on their personal information, and then ultimately we create linked data set containing information from both studies, from both data records. So how that linkage process works from a data owner side. We explore which data set can be linked to our study, what is important and what is really important, and a legal obligation as well is to ask participants for their consent. When that is done, we exchange PII according to side agreements. We link data and we conduct quality checks, create documentation, and ultimately release data in trusted research environment. What is really important to mention here that it's a really complex process. So this is just a simplification of that process. So it's a really complex process in which there is a continuous contact and conversation with data owners involved in a data linkage, how data will be processed, how data will be protected, assessment of the impact, and etc. When we talk about current resources that we have in the form of linked data sets, so we have, regarding the financial data linkage, we have linked auto enrollment pension data set, so Nest pension fund. We also have a linked credit reference agency data. As a part of UK longitudinal linkage collaboration, we also provide health data linkage. Regarding the environmental data linkage, we have linked driver and vehicle licensing agency data. We also have educational linkage, which covers England and Scotland, and we also have linked Twitter data. We're also expanding and planning some future linkages as well, as you can see on the table. And all the resources about the current linkages and future plans can be found in our separate section or at the Understanding Society website. So when you decide which data you want to use, which linked data set you want to use, it is important to consider how that data can be accessed and what is the rough structure of the data. So it is important to mention that all our data sets are safeguarded. So the level of the requirements and level of the access protection will depend on the disclosivity of the data. You can imagine the more information you combine about the individual, the data becomes more disclosive. So regarding the lowest level of the access, end user license access, Regarding the available link dataset, in that access, you can currently access DVLA data. And regarding link geographies, about which I'm going to talk in a couple of minutes, you have countries, you have government office region, and condensed urban-rural classification. All other data sets are part of special license access and secure access. Secure access being the most restrictive access level, which also require certain training at official institutions such as UKDS or ONS, and then when you become accredited researcher, and when you show that you can work on highly disclosive data, then you can apply for access for such data. And as you can see in the available link dataset, currently the majority of our data sets are under secure access level. Since the data is deposited at the UKDS, I also put a short video in which it is explained how you can access and download data. When we talk about the data structure, to help our users understanding what they can find in each of the linked data set, each linked data set is accompanied by the corresponding data dictionary, which contains list of variables, and a user guide which explains how the linkage was done, how the matching was done, number of contestants, number of participants, and for example, weighting section, and etc. Further documentation can be found on the relevant section of the UK LHS data linkage website and at the UKDS website where the data is deposited. But you also need to consider some things when you're applying for linked data sets. As I mentioned before, a linked data set is often in a secure access, so training and accreditation is required. So whenever you apply for linked data set or higher or let's say more restrictive data, you will need to explain why you want access to that data, why you cannot find similar variables in our lower access in the UL version of the data set. So to help users with that, to showcase for each of the linked data set what can already be found in our main study, we're preparing comparison tool that we're going to launch on our website. Because linkage depends on consent, it is important to keep in mind that the sample size will vary. Due to such unique nature of the linked dataset, the weights are created specifically for each of the linked dataset. More information on how they're created can be found in each of the corresponding user guides, our weighting guidance, and our publication library. We also have some examples of research in which you can see how other researchers use our linked datasets for each of the research area that I mentioned before. And lastly, I'll talk a bit more about geographical data linkage. So what is geographical data linkage? So geographical locators or indicators, so basically geographical linkage uses geographical locators or indicators which are based on the sample household, which are provided along with the household identifier. So researchers can use these identifiers to link survey data to, for example, external geographical data sets, for example, census data. In some cases, the external data sources are linked to the sample data by the data providers. As you can see, UK geographies are quite complex, and often they're quite difficult to understand. So here in this image and figure, we can see the hierarchical representation of the UK statistical geographies, the main groups, and how they're defined in different UK countries and different area levels. You can also see an example of local authorities, how is that complex on a territorial level. So when we talk about linkage and what you can do, you have basically two options. We have some resources which are data that is geographically already linked by us, and you can link your own data using a geographical identifier and using household identifier. Since I mentioned that they're quite complex and we have a separate workshop for geographical data linkage, I provided a link in which, for the user guide, in which you can read more about UK geographies itself, but mainly about the geographical resources that we have at Understanding Society. So when we talk about processing and data linkage in more specific geographical data linkage in more specific data, is basically linking our data to external data sources at the area level using these specific geographical identifiers. The advantage of that is that in the UK there's a tradition of high number of publicly available data sources which can be linked at the area level to our data. That consequently increases the research, increases scope of our research, and also helps you that you can link that data yourself using the geographical identifiers. It is important to keep in mind that not all geographies are available at the UK HLS. So we also have a lookup table in which you can see which geographies are available. And of course, you can imagine the more granular the area level is, the more restricted the access is going to be. As I mentioned before, there are rich resources in the UK about publishing open data that can be linked at the area level, and they're often hosted at the ONS and UK Gov website. And this is the short schematic illustration how you can link external geographical sources to understand society, and then using a household identifier to other parts of our study. Since we talk about that and how to actually do that in Stata in our separate workshop, I would invite you to sign up for a geographical data linkage workshop, which will take place online on 27th of November of this year. We also do these workshops several times a year. Some of the examples of geographical data linkage as well, in which people link our data to annual pollution level using LSOAs. They also link our data and Google mobility data to weather stations and some other data from Department of Transport and National Travel Service Settlement. We also have some other resources that are useful if you use our linked data, but if you use other data resources. So we have our user support forum. You can also check and sign up for upcoming trainings and events. We also have YouTube channel in which we publish recordings and infographics and important informations about our data. We have a lot of DUI online courses, and to be up to date with the study, you can also sign up for our newsletter.